This is the Economic Development Commission meeting of Thursday, December 5th. Meeting in the Old Town Hall Conference Room. It's now 8:32. And we do have a quorum, so thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you indeed. Welcome, everyone. Welcome our special guests, both Ed and John, who will be showing us a special presentation today. What I would like to do is I would like to go immediately into your presentation, and then we're going to double back to what might be normal procedure for the meeting itself. Okay, so gentlemen, the floor is yours, please.
Great, super. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. When I was walking into the door this morning and grabbing that handle, I remembered I've been grabbing that handle since I was about 9 years old when I came here for my ham radio license. I was getting the Morse code training downstairs. And so with that kind of background, I hope this project that we put together here is just a nice addition to the town. Respect the tradition that's been here and take it into the really 21st century, changing the shape of that part of town, the look, the feel, and really elevating the experience for hotel guests who want to come to visit. So I'm going to walk you through here, and I apologize, it's spread out a little bit, but I want to give you a flavor for it. This is the mood board that kind of sets the tone for the entire development. So what you can see here, our 80-room hotel goes away and is replaced by 110-key hotel here. And then we've got apartment buildings here and here. There's a parking garage hidden in this building, which so you can't see the parking garage at all. And then this main building becomes a centerpiece for the property with a very dramatic view over the marsh and an amenity in the back, pool, etc. That's the overall look and feel of the project. The other look is coming up from the center of town. You can see the diner remains and will be there for some time. And then when you're inside the development, it has a village feel. So here's the hotel from a different angle. Here's the main building with the great view. If you pull into the back of the Delamar, you have a very similar feeling. It's very much of a visual of a village.
And for those cameras there, corner.
There it is. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, camera's actually in the opposite corner.
Over there too.
Yeah, it's in. So, yeah.
Okay, where you're looking now, Mark, or before.
Yep. And
Yeah.
those joining online, the boards here are part of a PowerPoint presentation that was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is available online. I'll send you the link so you can view it after the presentation. So you probably can't get a very good view.
It's actually fairly visible right where you're presenting from, so you don't need to worry too much about turning it.
Technology.
Okay. This is the overview, the bird's eye view. So you can see, again, the hotel here, the amenity space surrounded by half the apartments here, the parking garage surrounded by apartments there. We envision some public access across the back, very light birding perhaps. And then we're going to clean up the sidewalk along the Post Road. And there's the diner again remaining in place. Now, one of the things that we've heard a lot about is, wow, it's really big. So let's address that. This visual actually puts the existing hotel, which I apologize is a little hard probably for people to see all the way in the back, but take my word for it. There's a blue dotted line in here, which gives the outline of the existing upper building. The point here is the parking garage is only about 10 feet above that. So how are we accomplishing that? Where you're digging down 20, 25 feet into the rock so that we're going to have a structure that is relatively the same height from the Post Road as we have today. So we're effectively hiding the building into the topography of the land. And you'll see as it spreads out across the back, you have the parking garage, the back of the apartment, and then the amenity space, and then it kind of tails down towards the marsh.
And just in reference to that, when you're on the Post Road, the level of the Post Road, you're over by the let's just say the east portion where there's the ledge rock.
Yeah.
Are you leveling that whole thing? Are you getting rid of the
leveling and going down.
I mean, you're gonna get rid of the ledge rock,
Mhm.
get it to the same height as a post road first, and then you're gonna go down some more, and then you're gonna build back up. Is that correct?
There you go.
So you're really gonna clean up that. You're gonna be able to, importantly, you're gonna be able to get sidewalks
Yes.
going through on that whole side, which is really an issue.
Yes, we heard that a lot in our Shoreham Village
Yeah.
neighbor meeting.
Sure, that's great. Thank you.
And then the last view from the marsh and folks who are across the marsh, they will have a bit of an obscure view. We'll have some screening. They'll still see the building. The building, we hope, is going to be a beautiful building. It's going to be something you want to see. This is the view, and this is one of the items that we're working on with the neighborhood associations to get them comfortable with what they're going to see in the end, with the end product.
Have you already seen the hotel as it is? Yes.
Well, yes, that's exactly one of the comments we've had back, which is, this is a big improvement. So as we've walked around the neighborhood, we've talked to business owners up and down the post road. We have so far a petition of roughly 25 signatures from business owners. We've met with Shoreham Village, we've met with the folks on Turney, Cambridge, and Riverside. And then we've had general outreach throughout the town. So there are obviously some of the same questions come up about, are you going to overburden the schools? Let's tackle that one with some facts. Based on the town's own data, we think maybe we would have 17 new school students in the development compared to about $1.5 million of additional tax revenue that will come out of it. So we think the school impact is actually quite muted. Moreover, the school that those kids would go into is actually under capacity right now. The capacity on the school is roughly 420 and it's currently at like 380. So there is room in that particular school. So that's the one issue we've heard a lot about.
Which school is
I
that?
believe it's Sherman.
Okay.
So there's that issue. There's the other issue we heard a lot about from the Shoreham Village folks is, while taking out the rock and cleaning up the sidewalks is really nice, it's gonna be loud. It will be. That's pretty manageable. The companies that come in and do that now are very professional. Whether we have to hammer it out or blast it out, there's a whole protocol. They will go around to all the neighbors, make sure that they're documenting existing conditions in foundations, et cetera, to make sure there's no damage done. And then moreover, using sound mitigation, sound attenuation techniques during the work. Will it be perfect? No, but it will be a short period of time as well.
What's the total build time?
Depends how, I would imagine it's no less than 2 years, maybe it's 18 months, but kind of round numbers, that's my feel for it.
Mhm.
Depends a little bit on how we're able to phase it. We have been asked to see if we can keep the existing hotel in place and put the new hotel in first and then knock down the old hotel, just because when hotel rooms are in demand in this town, they're really in demand. Not sure if that's gonna be technically feasible or not, but that would certainly help with hotel rooms.
No issues or challenges on like aquifers or water, groundwater flow?
No, in fact, the way, I mean, this is a 70-year-old site at this point since it was last developed. And so everything we're gonna do is gonna be an improvement. In terms of water just kind of sheeting off the property at this point. If you go there during a rainstorm, it's literally going out the back of the parking lot, down into the marsh behind. Now we'll have a whole detention system, so that's just not gonna happen anymore.
Where are you guys at in the process with planning and zoning? Is this conceptual only or?
So we did the pre-app review 2 weeks ago at this point. We were gonna submit within a week or so for the actual official. And then I imagine it won't be until after the holiday that we get in front of the commission. In the meantime, we've been doing all the outreach.
Remind me, how many rooms do you have presently?
80.
80, so there'll be a jump of 30, roughly speaking.
Exactly.
Is there any option or opportunity to make more out of this?
I've gotten that question a few times. I would love to. The issue is twofold. One, then we would end up above 4 stories, I think, which seems to be a sensitive point, particularly within the P&Z world. But then moreover, I'm not sure we have enough demand to support it all the time.
Interesting.
The problem with hotels in this town is when they're busy, they're completely busy and sold out. But that's really only maybe 10 times a year.
Okay.
The rest of the time, like this time of year, it's
Crickets.
Do we have a sense for what kind of hotel this would be?
It's hard to say exactly. If we just use the examples that are in town, the Best Western and the Delamar. I imagine it's gonna be closer to the Delamar than the Best Western, but I don't think it's gonna have a full service spa, for example, like the Delamar have. I don't think it's gonna have that amazing restaurant that Delamar has. It's gonna be, I would think, a higher end select service type hotel. Potentially with a wellness focus. We're trying to figure out a theme that kind of fits. And that's one idea we're kicking around, but still work to be done.
So I wasn't gonna bring up Delamar,
Yeah.
but since you brought it up,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
gonna bring it up. How many units do they have?
44, I think.
44. So, I think any one of us, as we look at the conceptual, we can actually, you've kind of brought a style that is kind of similar to that village, that Southport Village. It seems to have been a very well received look to it. And I think it really is a step up look.
Just to comment, the architect on this is Meinfeld Architects, and their work is just kind of missing. When you look at the PowerPoint, we have a lot of graphics of their work. Most locally, they did the Anchorage on Umpqua, that residential complex, which has been very well received in terms of its aesthetics. But there yet, we've got that. So a lot of attention has been taken to the architectural.
That's the Anchorage.
Yeah, that's the Anchorage.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are other work around the community.
And regarding the apartments, what is the breakout on the apartments? Do you have a mix of?
Yeah, it's roughly ones and twos, some studios, there's no threes or fours. And I want to say round numbers, I think it was roughly 2/3 ones or studios and a third twos.
Do you have a projection of what those units per unit will run?
It's gonna be dependent on the market at the time, but if we,
By your, what your present projections.
I would think we will probably, so let me start with the easy one, the affordable component, right, there's what, 12% affordable will be required by P and Z. That number will be between $1,500 and $1,800 for the ones and the twos.
Okay.
I imagine the market rate will be in the twos, maybe mid twos, hard to say exactly. Probably low to mid twos is my guess at this
For the
point.
ones?
Yeah, I meant for studios, ones kind of be on the lower of the
Yes.
twos, and then the studios and the ones will be in the low twos. The
Yes.
2 bedrooms would be probably in the mid twos. But frankly, it really depends on where the market is.
Yeah, of course. That's
30 of the units will be affordable under the proposed amendments that we're making where we'll be suggesting that 12% of the units be deed restricted as affordable for 40 years. So that will get Mark ahead on his next moratorium, we'll keep building towards that.
Right.
Net gain.
We're counting on it.
Any other members have any questions?
Do you guys have any, do you have any event space?
Permits? Yeah, roughly 1,000.
And the question from Jen is, do we have any event space?
So right now, the ground floor is just a white box. We will figure out what that becomes. It could be event space, could be a gym, could be a limited service restaurant. But I'd like to have something. The fact though is we haven't found a ton of demand in town for event space. And then you end up tying it up for lots of time where it's empty. So we haven't seen a lot of demand for that overall.
How many square feet are you referring to with that white box space?
It's almost the entire first floor, actually. I'm forgetting what the square footage is, but I think it's roughly 2/3 of this front floor are white box. And we'll figure it out. I mean, some of this comes down to programming and how to think about the look and feel of the hotel, which happens later. But it's significant room right now. Gives us a lot of room to play around with.
Does that help, Jen?
Like a business center.
Anyway,
Yeah, I imagine something like a business center, and there'll probably be some, there'll probably be some cross utilization with the apartments, because the apartments will have amenity space as well, gym, et cetera. Yeah, so we have to program that all out.
From our perspective, I mean, this looks fantastic and an improvement and upgrade what is the pushback that you are getting, or are you getting, if you're getting any?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think the schools always comes up. The traffic comes up. The schools I've addressed, let me touch on the traffic. So we've had traffic study that's not totally done, but pretty well, we got the good numbers out of it, which says, yeah, traffic is gonna increase a little bit, but we're actually gonna be able to hold that on our property. So the major traffic issue, if to the extent that there is any, is really gonna be our problem. Meaning that people who leave our building, we're gonna have a tougher time turning left because you have to cross a lane of traffic to get there. Turning right will be fine. But that turning left, they can just wait on our site. It's not gonna impact the post road. So that's the easy answer from our side. The more complicated answer is the state is obviously looking at redoing that entire traffic pattern in and around there, which we have no control over. I wish I could wave a wand and tell you we're gonna fix the crossway from Kings Highway and we're gonna put in a signal right before the circle and we're gonna help get the peanut shape put through. The fact is we have no impact on that. We're part of the conversation, but we can't do anything about it.
We are trying to coordinate with them, and Mark's been really helpful in terms of that communication. So whatever we do, we're gonna try to stay abreast of what the state is contemplating. But that's gonna ultimately lead to some improvement as well. The bottom line on the traffic, when you read the report, is the post road is, at that location, this is a very busy road. Most of the traffic is transient. In other words, they're heading down into Westport or wherever during peak times. Our increase in traffic volumes at peak hours associated with this development are not going to have any significant impact on the current conditions. It's almost like the drop in the bucket theory. There's so much traffic that, what we're doing isn't going to really cause any detrimental impact on the road. The one thing we have to be careful of, as Ed says, and we have done so, is to make sure that we have proper queuing on our property during peak hours so that we don't cause any issues there. So
I would imagine it would run similarly to what goes on at the promenade section of Brick Walk, that space. Which people queue up and they wait until until there are opportunities there. You're gonna lose a curb cut, will you not?
We are actually,
Yeah, they always love losing curb cuts, so that's positive. That's great.
yeah, we got a good reaction, I think it's fair to say, from the commission, but it's obviously was preliminary. I mean, just the only thing I want to add to Ed's presentation is, from the perspective of doing this in this town for 48 years, this is really a generational development at a real gateway of the town, and it will have such a positive, significant impact. Like anything that's generational or major, it's going to have its doubters. We're getting a good response from some immediate abutters in particular, but there's still a sort of, and this isn't meant critically, but a sort of NIMBY reaction to change sometimes. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to really reach out to the business community, of which you folks are obviously a key part, and say, we need your help on this, because if you do think, as we do sincerely, that this is really a significant development for the town that'll anchor that part of town for generations to come in a positive way, then we hope as many people who feel that way will affirmatively get behind it. Because the other experience that I have from doing this 48 years is, when you have a development like this where the overall town reaction to it is excitement and positive, that often becomes somewhat moot at the time we start going through the formal process, and the only people you hear are those who don't want, for whatever reason, and despite our outreach. So if people in town look at this and think it is a major improvement of this site and as I said, a generational approach to what Fairfield can be and will be in the future, then please get behind it and support it. And we're trying to engender that support by doing direct outreach. So that's what I was gonna say.
What's the ratio of parking spaces for both the hotel and?
it's about 1.3, if I recall. I think we might even be up to 1.5 actually, as I'm thinking about it in my mind.
So how many more cars are we talking about? That math, I guess.
Well, so we have 170 or 180 spots now. So it roughly double or triple the amount of cars, but remember, most of those cars are gonna be parked, right? The hotel business, which is back and forth a ton,
Sure.
that is obviously increasing about 30%.
Mhm.
The apartments folks tend to work from home, or you're not gonna see that traffic all the time.
Mhm.
How many parking spaces do we have? I think we have.
It's 515 or
515 spaces
That's a
on
lot.
site. So we've been careful not to underpark.
yeah.
We'd rather have some excess parking than have issues with
That
it.
includes visitor spaces too.
Yeah, I mean, the sense is that entire top floor of the parking garage is usually gonna be empty.
Oh, I see.
But we'd rather have that than folks say they gotta go park somewhere else.
Mhm.
Right, yeah, because if
We don't
they
want
do,
that.
they do, there's nowhere to go. I mean, that's.
So you're into the neighborhoods or.
Yeah.
Right, you want to minimize those off-site impacts as much as possible.
That fourth floor to the back building is an incredible view.
Yes.
Incredible view.
Yes. Yeah, very nice.
Excellent.
Just
So
wanted-
This is,
I wanted to say two things. One, from a personal vantage point of one, I think it looks great. I love the design and concept. A huge improvement over what that is today. I do think I speak on behalf of both business owners, especially the universities who care a lot about this topic of a hotel and others, and also the average family in town of, you described the Best Western and Delamar, sort of like you think about it on a spectrum. That's what we have today, and we only have those ends. We don't have the thing in the middle. I'd love to be able to see something more towards that smack dab in the middle, because I think my hypothesis to what you said about, we it's either gangbusters or there's no one in the hotel rooms in these places. I think in large part it's because of those ends. We don't have something that can just attract the everyday, regular person. I mean, for all intents and purposes, yes, Fairfield is a wealthier town. It's become wealthier over the past 25 years or so. There are a lot of people that can't afford the Delamar. There's also a lot of people that can't, just come and visit their family and be like, yeah, I'm going to drop $400 a night on a hotel. So that's the one comment that I think is, I'm sure you've heard, but I think it's incredibly important.
It's a good comment. I appreciate that.
I would
Yes.
echo the support from the universities. Me being from Fairfield, or knowing Sacred Heart also is in need of a hotel. I think you'd find support from the universities.
Yeah, so I have met with these folks at Fairfield U, and they are very much in support and would love to see as many hotel rooms as we can get.
Meet with Mark.
and
Yes.
Jennifer as well. Jennifer,
Yeah, I work at Fairfield U.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah, I met with Mark a few weeks ago.
You mentioned it.
Imagine what the room rate would be. Approximate.
I would think it's in the 200s, kind of roughly. Right now we're at about a 150 average, so 150, 175, depending on the time of year. So I'd imagine it's in the twos.
Does it have any impact on the potential hotel that's seemingly no
The Metro. The Metro, yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think there's demand for it.
Mhm.
I understand what Ed's saying in terms of the peaks and valleys, but
Right.
we do think that there's sufficient demand to support that.
I guess concern on your part, like if
Yeah, look, we've thought about it. I've been thinking about it for 10 years since I've owned that property, and I've looked at it for the 10 years before that, and nothing has happened. So at some point, we just have to say, we gotta move forward.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
If we're not, any other questions, we're all good. So,
I actually want more.
Yeah, sure.
There's a chance that you would develop a relationship with one of the chains.
It's a great question. We're in the middle of that now. What I personally want to keep is this independent feel of it. I'd rather not have a kind of a standard Marriott box that drops in. But thankfully now, the Marriott and the big chains, they have what they're calling independent chains or soft brands. So you can plug into the reservation system without having to be forced to fit their look and feel. That's actually an ongoing conversation now. I've had several conversations with folks in the chains to try to figure out how to do this. So if I had to choose, I don't want a standard box. I would much rather be independent, but if I can get a happy medium in between the two, we'll do that.
In those cases, can people use points?
Exactly. That's what we're.
But that's they have different tier, Marriott has different tiers of these more boutique, there's the really, really high end boutique, and then there's the more mainstream boutique. That would be, in my opinion, I mean, I know it's so easy when you're just sitting here spitballing, that would be, I think the ideal is the lower end of those boutique types that, you know, we can get an average of $200 a night. That'd be ideal, I think.
I'm right there with you. There's a lot to navigate between here and there.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think the chains are fairly aggressive with that now too, where they've opened up a new hotel, smaller in scale, but up in Litchfield in the old courthouse called the Abner. And because I used to try cases up there, we had to go for a night just to say I slept in a bed where the court used to be. You know, I knew it covers, but in any event, they have a link into, I forget if it was which one of the, so you do get the points, you can plug into their reservation system, but you go up there and there's really no other delineation of a chain. It's the Abner and you go in and so on. So that, I think that's doable.
The other thing that I think about that it would do, and this is back to our, it's actually very timely, we had this given our conversation last week at Sacred Heart, or last month at Sacred Heart. But we talked about the Trumbull Marriott and its disarray that it's in. A lot of times in my observation, I'm not a hotel expert, but a lot of just from traveling a lot for work, a lot of times when hotels land in a new place with existing, like their name brand names, they'll see that there's a lot of traction with the boutique, and they're like, oh God, we got to improve the main one because it's not able to keep up. Like it's draining all the reservations out of that one. So that would be kind of like a nice halo effect, I think. From
That's right. Thank you for your time. The support is appreciated. Thank you for the questions. It helps us kind of hone our story as well. We really need the support to make sure we're, as John says, kind of telling the whole story. The folks that like the project tend to stay very quiet. Folks that don't like the project are the loudest. So we need the support where we can.
I think you really should really push the concept of your tying in to this point of safety, that whole sidewalk system in that section of town. And you're really you're helping Shoreland Village connect into the center, if you really want to look at it that way.
This does remind me of the way the brick walk sort of extended downtown,
Mhm.
because it used to be, you know, all to
Yes.
Old Coast Tavern on that side of town, and you never really crossed over as much now. It's really extended, the town, and this brings it much further down.
Right.
The other thing we haven't focused on this morning, but it's a big part of this and meaningful to a lot of people based on the input we received, is there's going to be some very significant environmental enhancements and benefits to this development, you know, because of the adjacent marsh. Because right now, there's no real state-of-the-art detention, but more importantly, as importantly, there's no water quality requirements. So that free flow is running unfiltered into the marsh. And this development, which you know, has been in process for a while, we've got Land Tech, and we're gonna have it's gonna really be a nice project in terms of enhancement and protection of the marsh going forward.
Yeah, if you think of any of the oil or antifreeze that comes out of all these cars that are parked, that there's no retention at all right now. That was right in.
It just goes right down.
Which if that's what you're talking about, that's a big deal too.
Yeah.
So wonderful work. It's a huge investment. So we're
There's a lot of ones.
Big investment.
It's a huge investment.
So how can I get you guys support publicly? How does that process look like?
We're gonna have a conversation after you leave, and we'll figure that part of it out, and I'm sure we can come up with something. Mark is always good that way.
Letter would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Happy holiday, and thank you.
You all too.
Thank you. Thank you both.
And Kevin, thank you for your service over the last few years. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Carry. I might as well earn my key. Come on.
So if we can kind of maybe backtrack just a little bit, and minutes, I think we're gonna.
We got 3 months of minutes here.
Anyone look at the minutes? Is there any?
We have a few to consider today. Thank you, guys. We are considering the minutes of the September 5th, the October 3rd, and the 11th, and November 14th special meeting which we had at Sacred Heart. Well, we did have a quorum on the 14th. Our presentation ran long and so we didn't have an opportunity to consider that at the time. So thank you, Gretchen, for preparing them. Any questions, or you want to take them as a group or?
Well, let's take them as a group. If there's any questions of that or any of them, then we'll break it out. But if not, if I can have a motion to accept all the minutes as acceptable. And so sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you, John. Okay, great. So stepping forward a little bit, we have a few things. We have Jennifer Trudeau, who is our incoming member, and we want to welcome you. So thank you for coming here. Thank you for taking on the effort. It's as you're going to come to find out, this is just a terrific group to work with, and with the extension of help with both Gretchen and Beverly coming in to enhance, but certainly Mark as our collective leader in all of this. Okay, so I hope that you have a wonderful experience as I have over the years. The next part is that we need to look at an election of officers. As I have aged out, I'm stepping down from the floor. I'd ask that we have a chair and a vice chair. Or are there any individuals that would like to kick in? I'm kicking over to the table.
I'll put myself up for a chair.
Excellent.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve, that's
I'll second you.
Excellent. And do we have anyone for a vice chair?
I'll nominate Justin.
I accept.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. All right. So
Right, unopposed.
right. So I'm going to I'm going to.
What does that say? I don't know.
That means that everyone steps back. No, that's not what it means. But I'd like to make a motion that we would accept Steve as our as the new chair, Justin as the vice chair. Do I? Yes.
Second.
So we can. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. So we have new leadership. Excellent, gentlemen. Thank you for that. And then we're going to have to talk about, or really, you're going to have to look at coming up with the scheduling for next year. I'm going to pass that back to Mark for a moment.
Well, if we're okay with continuing to meet typically on the first Thursday of each month, I did prepare a schedule. I did make some adjustments based on proximity to holidays and times when the town hall or municipal offices may be closed. I did check these dates, or had Mary Alice double check my calendar to make sure that we're treading on any religious observances or other holiday or closings affected. So I think we're good, but I propose this particular date schedule for your consideration.
Second, have it for me at this point, but certainly open if it's more convenient.
It certainly doesn't mean that in any given month that things can't be adjusted as well.
Yeah, we've obviously had special meetings when circumstances dictate, and we don't always meet every month. We do have a August meeting, for example, on the calendar. It's a lot easier for us to just cancel it if there's no pending business than to try to schedule a special meeting, but we have, all 12 months represented here. So if there's no objection, we could.
Accepting proposed schedule.
Excellent. We have a second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Very good.
We're moving right along
We
here.
are. We've already taken care of Ed and John. So Mark, I believe that comes to you for director's report.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't also acknowledge our outgoing chair here. It's been a pleasure serving with you, an honor. 10 years of service to the Economic Development Commission, most of which is chair. We have a little tiny Commission, very,
Thank you so
very
much.
poor,
Thank you very much.
full representation, and thank you for your service to the town.
That's
I'm
great.
sure the first selectman will be following up with you
That's
directly.
wonderful. Thank you
But
so
did want
much.
to at least acknowledge you and also wish Jennifer warm welcome to the commission. She was officially appointed last night, but she needs to be sworn in to be official.
Excellent. Excellent.
And so she'll be joining us at an official capacity at our next meeting.
Excellent.
But do want to thank you again for your many years of dedicated service to
It's
the
really
town.
been
And
a
hopefully, like Don, we can count on you to come back
Yeah,
occasionally.
yeah, no,
So,
I look at that, both Don and Peter from time to time. We look forward to it.
Your local knowledge was like, even today, knowing that there's ledge rock back there and how that was done, like that, be very difficult to replicate.
Yeah, so a couple things I just wanted to reference. This is a busy month, I think, for everyone with, many holiday gatherings, both professionally and personally. But we also have a number of events that we kick off to support our small business community. Starting with the Small Business Saturday, where we had a presence downtown at the Fairfield University store. And we're handing out shopping bags. That was following up with Santa's arrival in town.
It was a busy weekend.
Which was well received as always. But we have a couple other events upcoming I wanted to put on your calendar because we're taking the lead on some of those with support. On December 11th, we have our annual holiday shop and stroll downtown from 6 to 9. We do have a early happy hour at the Sinclair, which is always popular, and we'll be working with Fairfield University again to collect teddy bears, used, new or unused stuffed animals or teddy bears for their alumni drive. They provide those to children in hospitals or other in need. So we're collecting that again.
Where's that?
The Sinclair is the happy hour
So it's
at
at
5
the happy
o'clock.
hour.
Yeah, and then leading right into our holiday stroll. We'll again have music accompaniment from the local school systems, carolers, other entertainment along with your shopping. So, but we also, I'm pleased that we're working with a newly emerging merchant group on Black Rock Turnpike to do an open house on the 13th of December, Friday, from 3 to 7. The idea here is again to show some love for the many independent and locally owned and operated stores on Black Rock Turnpike to fulfill your holiday shopping needs. We are working with the Bricks and Minifigs to provide a parents' night out opportunity. So you drop your kids off there at Bricks and Minifigs and do your holiday shopping. And then on the following day, Saturday, December 14th, Greenfield Hill Commons will be having their holiday market from 12 to 3. So again, many opportunities to fulfill your holiday shopping requirements and support our local merchants and small business community. And on the 21st of September, we will be having a Fairfield Make Music Day Winter Edition, the Solstice Stroll from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. If you feel like you're in a good singing voice and you want to join us, we'll be caroling from the Fairfield Theater Company, making a stop at the Shoe Community Theater, as well as the Fairfield Public Library before ending on Sherman Green. But an opportunity to celebrate the winter solstice as part of Fairfield Make Music Day, which is part of this whole global celebration of making music. We've been doing the summer edition for many years. This is the first in-person event we've had in the wintertime.
Is there a time on that?
11 a.m. at the Fairfield Theater Company. So even if you just want to walk along, that'd be great too. So welcome all of you. And so with that, I know Beverly's got and I'll defer to her to talk about the economic outlook breakfast coming up. We can pivot back to development applications and then the presentation later. So
Beverly, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yes, it's been a busy December with Thanksgiving being so late and then now here we are, but it was wonderful to do Santa for sure. It was probably one of the coldest days ever. And Small Business Saturday seemed busy as well. So I think we're off to a good start for the month of December. Our next event will be the Economic Outlook Breakfast, which will be January 30th. To be held at the Patterson Club. This year, we are going to have John Trainer speak. He was the economist for People's United Bank prior to the M&T acquisition of People's. He is now with Cambridge Trust. And I think everyone will be very excited to see John again. His presentations are fantastic. And then we always invite Mark to speak a little bit about the town on economic development, and the selectman comes forward and says hello. So that's our.
I want to reverse that.
I know. Well, you work together, So it's one of our best, and so we're excited about that. And we're developing our year out now for all of our events. So it's nice to see your schedule for your meetings. Just one thing, I'm glad we're staying with that first Thursday, because the chamber has second and third Thursdays. And then Mark is able to come to our board meeting as I come to this one. So that works very well for me, and I think for Mark as well. So thank you for that. And if we're going to swing back to Ed and talk about that development, just as an FYI, the chamber doesn't come forward and support independently developments like this. If there's a decision here for this commission to support, then we support you. So our letter goes to you in support of the presentation. So I have to explain that to Ed and let him know on that one. So that's really what we have right now. So thank you.
That's great. It's a busy month. Certainly is. Certainly is. For the updates on developments, maybe let's take a moment since you brought up Ed's project. I would like to just talk for a moment and see how everyone feels about this project, if there's any trepidation of creating a letter of support for it. I didn't sense it from everyone, but anyone really. But at that same time, this would be a very good time to talk about what you didn't hear and what you might be concerned about. Anyone?
I'm not here officially, right?
No.
Okay, so it's a guess.
Did Sacred Heart say anything about hotels at your last meeting? Because I'm seeing it in your minutes here. What did they say there?
Well, there seems to be general interest in having additional hotel space from both universities.
Did they say anything about projects at Sacred Heart?
They didn't talk about it directly, but I'm aware of
Okay.
opportunities.
And I've not heard anything directly.
Yeah.
But there has been.
Yeah, there's been conversations with Chain to look at potentially a partnership at Sacred Heart Hotel. So I don't know that that's
Like on campus and.
on campus somewhere. Yeah.
So I actually specifically said and talked about that at that meeting.
Yeah.
Just basically stating that if but for nothing else, both universities can certainly agree along with the town that more is needed. And that was the consensus of I'm forgetting who was there with us representing you at the Sacred Heart.
I think it's Bill from Hub.
Oh, okay, so it was very positive of what he said to that extent. So and this is a bit more of a boutique anyways, and it is more in the downtown section. So
I like Colin's idea. I hope that's something that we can pursue.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. Like, I wouldn't support it if it's gonna be a Del Mar again.
Yeah.
Because I like it's beautiful, it's conceptually, it's very nice, but like, that is not what we need at all. Like, I think it actually potentially worsens our situation, where we wouldn't be able to then get, like, if you're one of the chains and you're looking, you're like, there's a lot of boutiques here, like, we're never gonna be able to charge, like, we'll never be able to make back, we'll have a ceiling basically of what kind of chain we can put in there, which, you know, we sort of want them to come in with a lower chain, but I think it's gonna hamper our ability to get someone to actually come in if we.
But I think, you know, Ed is a savvy developer and business person. I think he understands the market pretty well, and you know, I think he'll do what he can to bring that to fruition.
I was happy. Hard to buy. I was happy with his answers, but there's also there's so many
a lot of things where he doesn't control it completely either. So you gotta, you know.
I mean, if he's finding something in that $200 to $300 range, that's all pretty good. It really is.
Actually, I thought his rates on the monthly, you know, again, he was saying subject to.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That was a reasonable for 1 and 2 bedroom apartment. Considering what I have seen elsewhere.
No, it'll be in the threes.
I was a little surprised by that, yeah.
It'll be higher.
It's very true. And again, what market shares, right? So, but I think that's kind of in the wheelhouse, because I mean, if you're really going to Delamar, I think you're really talking closer to 5, not 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
You know, so
When I said that, I was like, well, actually, I've actually seen it where it's like 600.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. So I mean, I don't think there's a low. I mean, you know, they're usually good to some of our families that when we reach out to them, because we have an issue with that too. I mean, and Trumbull Marriott is really not looking so hot these days.
No.
You know?
No, it's not.
They run very well, and so you're pushing people either down to Norwalk or up to Shelton. So I can't imagine why we can't have a market down here.
Yeah, I would find it hard to believe that the market, there would be enough market demand to support hotels in that price point. Range, given,
I think that you don't have a choice. That, I mean, that end is probably already full, and you'd have to be competing against it being established. Universities, family, and events that are going to drive it.
The reason I'm concerned is because the look very much aligns with the higher end. So.
I like it. I love the look and design.
I do too.
But you're right, there could be some association in Delamar, people won't call, but there is need for hotels for sure. And to Jen's point on event space, this is where the Trumbull kicks in. And there actually is a need for event space. So hopefully the hotel in the metro station is having some type of event space over there. But with all the nonprofits, I mean, we're all looking around, at least 3 or 4 months, we all have events where we need the event space. Fairfield U has great event space, no doubt about that. But that's always a question that comes up when you hear hotel. And Trumbull, so Bill Purcell just had a big expo over there, and it was packed. But it's the only place you can go on that side for a big event like that. We work with Fairfield U for any type of expo, and we may change that this year in March, not to have a health and wellness, but maybe an actual business expo. But event space is still important. It just is.
So having said that, some of these things are out of our control. Obviously, it's just more a matter of, do we like this project? And so if we like this project, and there's no reason to not give that support, then I'd like an opportunity for our committee to in fact give that support. So may I have a motion for that? For that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor to support this project? Excellent.
So what that means is I'll draft a letter for the incoming chairs and the commission's review to make sure we touch on all the high points here, and then with your blessing, then I'll submit that on your behalf to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And then we'll dovetail to that.
That's a good one. Excellent. That's a good one. All right, great. That's terrific. So Mark, can you bring us up to speed with, I'm sure there's a plethora of different.
Well, I know probably we're getting inundated right now with new applications for different types of multifamily residential developments, which is anticipated because we're on the cusp of applying for our initial moratorium. There is a notice, we did file a notice of intent to submit the application. The public comment period runs through the 17th of December. It is our intent to immediately file forthwith after the expiration of the required public comment period. The state then has 90 days with which to review and approve our application, during which they also provide additional time for the public to comment on the pending applications. There's a 30-day notice that comes with our submittal, during which the public can again provide comments on our application, which is a voluminous document totaling well over 650 pages, a 2-volume set that I'm figuring out how I can submit it to the state digitally. So if they give me a file share service, I'll be happy to do that, but it's a pretty big file. But in the meantime, until the state has actually approved and noticed their decision to approve the moratorium, we're vulnerable to additional applications. There's several pending. And, you know, even this project, I don't want to talk about the bad side, but, you know, there's always a contingency plan in the event that something doesn't get approved on the first pass. We've got a plan B in line. So we've got a couple of those where they've got a contingency plan to file if there seems to be a lot of pushback to the original application. It's be far better for the community to work with property owners and developers to come up with a plan that kind of makes sense, even in circumstances like this where you might need to make some additional adjustments to your zoning regulations to accommodate that use. Thinking too of the proposed 40-unit development at mixed use development at 2179 Post Road, which is across from the former Exide battery site. You know, again, that is a fairly modest mixed use proposal on a commercial corridor. Doesn't generate a huge amount of traffic or off-site impacts, but there is concern. And, you know, they have another option, which would be exclusively 100% residential, more units and taller, bigger building, if that doesn't fly. So we have one pending on Tunxus Hill. They started the public hearing just this week, 467 Tunxus Hill. One was just approved for 222 Stilson, which is not a bad site. It's actually a very modest proposal, a 24-unit 830G, butts right up to a commercial corridor. It's a nice buffering use. Had multiple public hearings, but the commission did approve that application. We're hearing a few more on the former St. Emery's Parish on Bureau Street, and one off of Reef Road, which is on Forest Road. There's a aggregation of lots with intent to file for a residential development, and there's one on Upper Black Rock Turnpike that's been long pending, but no application has been submitted. So planning and zoning seems to be meeting in perpetual session from now till March. They've added additional meeting dates, so they're pretty much meeting every week at this point. They did have time to consider the public comments that they received on the draft plan of conservation development. They actually went through much of the document and seem to be making progress toward getting to the point where they'll actually adopt the plan. Hoping that that'll happen right after the new year, assuming they have some time to consider that, and then we'll be going through a building regulation rewrite. But there's a lot of things that, again, the Exide battery site is a good example. With appropriate prospective planning, maybe some outcomes could have been, you know, diverted, or changed. And I know that this commission supported the Penske Automotive Group's application for a new Porsche dealership showroom. It was denied on a very narrow vote at Planning and Zoning. Surprising to me, because again, it was entirely 100% consistent with our existing zoning regimen. And there was a feeling on the part, I think, shared by some members of this commission, gee, you know, what could have been for that site. But as I reminded several of the Planning and Zoning Commission members, we've had 5 years to update our plan of conservation development, update our regs. If the intent was to extend the center design district and rezone that property, we had ample time to do so. We didn't, and we now have, we had an application that came in under the existing design industrial zone, permitted use. We denied it. We're likely, it's been appealed. We're likely gonna lose on appeal. You can never say with 100% certainty, but the odds are stacked against us. And so, you know, where does that leave us?
Right.
And in doing so, we've also alienated and aggravated a good corporate citizen, a business that's been here in Fairfield for many, many years, paying taxes, being part of the community. And now they're feeling a little bit peeved, as you can understand.
We just cost them some money. And by the way, we're costing our town some money too, because defending all of this takes money. I mean, it's outside council.
So we do have to pick our battles, but I'm very hopeful that the Planning and Zoning Commission will, in fact, adopt the plan of conservation development shortly. It's the first time we have substantively addressed the town's master plan since, I think, 2000. So it's long overdue, and our regulations do need to be updated as well.
Who's the population of the town? Does that remain steady? Because I know we've had this conversation a while back, and you said like even from the 70s through recent history, like the town has been pretty stable population wise. Does that remain true?
So you saw a huge increase in population from after World War II to the 1970s, and then stabilized and actually declined the population a bit, and then has gradually grown like at 2% over the last several years. So we're above where we were in 1970, but not significantly above. So we're 62,000. It's not we're a town, but we're not a small community anymore. I was just in Burlington, Vermont. Vermont is 45,000 population. It's a city. You know, Fairfield's larger population wise. So it's all relative, but you know, we are growing, but we're not growing at such a incredibly fast pace. Even with the newer developments, it seems like a lot of it seems to be absorbed by folks that are spending, you know, part of their time elsewhere. So there's still a demand for housing. When housing developments do come online, they get leased up in fairly short order. Part of it is the concern I have with some of the housing developments is, you know, again, some of these are not in bad locations for additional mixed use or residential development on commercial corridors. Is probably what you would want. There is, I think, in some cases, because of the pending moratorium, a rush to get these applications in, and perhaps they're not as thoughtful in their design as they could have been. And you know, unfortunately, I don't know, the town has some limited options there in terms of its review. And in other areas where we have people that are maybe developing apartment buildings in areas where we really don't want them to happen, that's the whole point of getting a moratorium. Right, so the Berkeley Road one, which is in a, you know, again, you're taking existing 2- and 3-family houses that provided modest affordable housing stock, you're aggregating those lots and then building a 4-story apartment building in the midst of residential area. It's a tough one. So that's what I'm hoping that we can avoid when we get beyond with the moratorium.
Excellent, thank you.
I will mention also we took a letter in support of the proposed daycare early childhood learning facility on Greenfield Hill. Was approved after multiple hearing nights. However, several neighbors, folks have taken an appeal. So it is in litigation.
Oh, wow. That's tough.
So it's like one step forward and half step back.
Meanwhile, the department's going into disrepair.
Yeah.
Really a shame. All right, thank you, Mark. Any other business?
Fairfield Center Stage, it puts on shows around town.
Yeah.
And they've got one coming up, the Christmas Carol that they always do.
Are you appearing?
No, but Kelly is the designer. all the set design for all of these shows that they're putting on. She asked me to ask you.
All right, here we go.
On behalf of the Fairfield Center Stage, they need storage space. They don't have a home right now. So every time they do a show, they've got lots of, all the stuff they're putting in the show, all the equipment, all the design, everything, and it has no place to go. And it needs a place to go, to be stored.
How much space do they need?
Well, right now they're using like a truck container.
Oh, okay. So it's relatively modest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will follow up with you on that.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Actually, what they're really looking for is a permanent home, but that's another story.
Starting off again.
That's our all arts and cultural facilities.
But temporarily a place for storage. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
All right. Well, I think that,
So a couple things coming up. We do need to provide a report. So I will have drafted a report for your consideration at our January meeting, which is in time for the Outlook breakfast. So I have a couple opportunities to practice and hone this. I have to go to the Board of Finance and tell them all the wonderful things and how it's going to impact the tax base here. So I did want to remind you that the Economic Development Commission by statute is supposed to provide a report to the legislative body. So I'll draft something for you and we'll take that up in January.
Let me know if I can contribute anyway.
that's great. That's great. Well, if that is all, then first I want to go down left. Okay, so Ken, Matt, Jen, thank you for being a part of this with me. It's been an honor. I'm going to make sure that some bags are left in Mark's office. So if you can wander at one point before Christmas or before the holidays and find a bag for yourself, it'll be there. And for each of you, I want you to take a bag home as just a happy holidays and a thank you very much for sharing this experience with me. So thank you.
Thank you for your leadership.
So thank you. So let's close.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.